Young girls are the best.
Excuse me?
Enough already. I'm dating Scarlet now. Aurora, you're yesterday's news.
William burst into laughter. I couldn't hide my bewilderment at his reaction. Cut it out, like Scarlet would ever date someone like you.
What? Scarlet's pregnant with my child. What am I supposed to do, not take responsibility?
Stop joking around. Arya stamps her foot in frustration. To that, William coolly retorted.
No use getting mad at me. It was Scarlet who came on to me.
Scarlet would never do such a thing.
Not do it? I'm telling you she did. So it's true. And I'm not in the wrong.
William slams his bag down on the table as if to punctuate his point. It seems nothing got through to William. If that's the case, he has another thing coming. What have you done? I'll give you plenty of time to think it over. Of course, you don't have the right to refuse. You're gonna face the consequences of your actions. I don't know what to do. You don't need to say anything. We'll make sure you get to where you need to be. I gently placed my hand on Arya's shoulder. My name is Aurora. I work in the office of the construction company my dad runs. I recently turned 50 and have been feeling the urge to slow down more. But I can't quit this job, because my husband William is unreliable. William runs the local electronics store. He's a business owner, but the business isn't doing well at all. Customer complaints are on the rise, while it seems like there's much less work than before. That's why I have to work hard, or our household finances will fall apart. And that's why I'm still working at this age. But it's not like my life is all gloom and doom. In fact, my daughter Arya graduated from college and got a job at a famous apparel company. It's bittersweet seeing Arya become independent, but I'm honestly relieved. So my only problem right now is William. I'm not asking for much. I'd be happy if he just did his job properly, but William doesn't take his work seriously. That's why I always carry divorce papers in my pocket. I muttered this with a bit of self-mockery. I want a divorce, but I just can't bring myself to do it. For years now, I've been living this indecisive life. You might wonder why I married a man who doesn't work. It's not like William was always this unreliable. My family runs a construction business. Dad's a carpenter, and now my brother Christopher is helping out too. Dad's construction business and William's electronics store have been working together for a long time. To put it simple, it goes like this. Dad's construction business takes on jobs like renovations. But renovation sites need more than just carpenters. Depending on the situation, we might need plasterers or people qualified to do gas and electrical work. That's when Dad would call on William's electronics store. Well, at first it was William's dad who did the work, and then it shifted to William. Anyway, through working together, Dad saw potential in William. You work hard, you'd make a great husband for Aurora.
Aurora, your daughter, right?
Yes, you're close in age and you'd be a good match for marriage. That was how our marriage started. So it goes without saying that William was serious back then. I also thought he must be a good person since Dad introduced him. But as we spent more time together after getting married, William gradually began to show his true colors. By the time Arya was in elementary school, William had started to go out drinking night after night. Out drinking again?
Yeah, come on, just for a little.
A little? Don't you think you're overdoing it? When I pursed my lips, William scowled and snapped back.
I'm working, aren't I? That's how we can afford our life.
That's true, but Arya is still in elementary school, and we're going to need more money moving forward.
I know, don't worry.
William was carefree. I became anxious, wondering if he really understood. A few weeks later on a holiday, while I was preparing dinner, someone came to visit. Wondering who it could be on a holiday, I headed to the front door. Peering outside, I saw an unfamiliar man in a black suit. May I help you? I cracked the door slightly and spoke up. The man answered in a low voice.
Is William here?
Do you need something from my husband?
Are you his wife? Then yes, I'm here to collect your husband's debts.
The man raised his voice. I quickly shut the door. There was a loud noise, and William came rushing out from the living room.
What's wrong, Aurora?
Some strangers here demanding we pay your debts. Call the police now. I was almost shouting, but William showed no signs of moving. Wondering why, I saw him walk past me. He opened the door himself and started talking to the man outside.
Could you give me just a little more time? No way. I told you today's the deadline.
The man raised his voice. At that moment, Arya, who had followed William, started crying. While comforting Arya, I watched the two of them talk. It seemed like they were getting somewhere. William has debts? As I stood there dumbfounded, William suddenly started to apologize deeply.
Look,
Please, I have a daughter and expenses are high. The man's expression darkened. Seeing Arya crying, the man sighed.
I'll give you 1 week.
With that, the man closed the door forcefully and left. Naturally, after the man left, I confronted William. What's the debt for? Who is that person? I bombarded him with questions. William initially tried to dodge the issue, but as I did not let up, he seemed to resign himself to the truth.
I just let the tab at the bar pile up a bit.
So it turned out that someone from his store had come to collect on a tab. I was relieved it wasn't someone shady. At the same time, I was furious. You sort this out yourself, and if you borrow again, I won't forgive you.
Yeah, I won't borrow money ever again.
Promise me. In the end, William borrowed money from the in-laws to settle the tab. After something like that, most people would straighten up, but William was different. Far from being more serious, he started going out even more. And as if he was partying lavishly, the money he brought home dwindled rapidly. Moreover, complaints about William's electronics store started coming to our home phone. On top of that, I even had to hear complaints related to women. I continued to be troubled by such a daily life. Eventually, I reached my limit and confronted William. Why are complaints about the store coming to our home phone?
Don't ask me about that.
So is it true you asked a married woman out on a date? When I asked, William's face changed. He suddenly averted his gaze and started laughing.
That's, like a joke. Or kind of.
A joke? Negotiating discounts in exchange for a date with you?
No, that's not what I meant.
William started to stammer out excuses, but none of them were convincing. As I listened to his excuses with a look of disbelief, William suddenly started to get angry for some reason.
Are you even listening to me?
I am listening.
Liar, you were zoning out, weren't you?
William raised his voice. He always shouted when things didn't go his way. It was one of William's bad habits. But it also proved that I was right. Those complaint calls were true. As William made a fuss, I was thinking about that. After that argument, our relationship only got worse. Even the smallest things would escalate into a fight.
Isn't dinner ready yet?
You haven't been bringing home any money, so I had to start working too. Just wait a second.
Huh? What's with that tone? Are you looking down on me?
He always raises his voice when things don't go his way. Maybe my way of speaking wasn't great either. But I was fed up with him, not contributing to the household expenses. So maybe it was okay to give him a taste of his own medicine occasionally. Perhaps because I showed my displeasure towards William, Arya started to make the same unhappy faces. By the time she was in high school, her attitude towards him had become even stricter. As soon as William came home, no matter what she was doing, Arya would retreat to her room.
Hey, Arya, where are you going?
To my room.
Are you studying?
You're so annoying. Muttering, Arya locked herself in her room. William was furious at Arya's attitude.
What's with that attitude?
Who do you think I am? I thought to myself that he's hardly considered a dad, but I couldn't say that out loud. Anyway, this family environment couldn't be good for Arya. I had started to consider divorce more seriously. In the meantime, Arya became a college student. After much thought, with Dad being how he is, why don't you try living on your own? I suggested to Arya. Lately, he hardly comes home and I'm worried about you, Mom. I'm fine here. I couldn't help but cry at Arya's words. Indeed, William hardly ever comes home these days, and when he does,
just give me the money quickly,
is all he says to me. So I decided to respect Arya's wishes. If that's what you want, then that's fine with me. Yay! Oh, can I bring a friend over sometime? Of course, just make sure it's when William isn't around. I know. It was a few days after this conversation that Arya brought her friend Scarlett over. I must admit, I was quite surprised the first time I saw Scarlett. With her flashy hair color and heavy makeup, she stood out. But once we started talking, she seemed like any other earnest and good kid you'd find anywhere. After that, Scarlett began visiting our house quite often. Maybe because of that, Scarlett and I also became close. Please have some of this cake. Oh, thank you. Are you sure? I got it from my part-time job. As we were having this conversation, Arya was pretending to pout. Scarlett is supposed to be my friend. How come she seems closer to you? Well, she is a good child. I'd want her as my own daughter too. Huh? Am I not good enough for you? We were able to joke like this because Scarlett had become so well integrated into our family. Then one day, right after coming over, Scarlett said to Arya, I just met your dad over there. What? Arya was at a loss for words, but Scarlett continued nonchalantly. He seems like a nice person. He said he had to go to work, though. Scarlett, please, don't get involved with him. Why not? Just don't, please. Arya spoke with an unusually firm tone. Surprised by this, Scarlet quietly nodded. Perhaps Arya's warning had an effect, as Scarlet stopped mentioning William thereafter. Years passed, and both Arya and Scarlet graduated from college. Arya secured a job at an apparel manufacturer, while Scarlet found employment at a cell phone shop. Their friendship remained unchanged despite working at different places. Scarlet continued to visit our house as usual. However, soon after, Scarlet suddenly stopped coming over. I wonder if something happened. I was worried about Scarlet, and it was during this time when I was hoping that she would be fine. Nothing had happened to her, when I found Arya standing petrified in the living room, holding her cell phone without even changing out of her work clothes. "What's wrong, Arya?" "Mom." When she turned around, I saw her eyes brimming with tears. This wasn't something trivial. I instinctively felt it and sat down, trying to calm Arya. Eventually, Arya began to speak. "Mom, Scarlet's pregnant." "Oh, that's..." I was about to say congratulations when I abruptly stopped myself. Arya had a terrified look, even though it should have been happy news. As I swallowed my words, Arya started to explain slowly. The story goes back a bit. It was about the last day Scarlet visited our home. After leaving our place, Scarlet apparently met William outside. Being Arya's dad, Scarlet felt obliged to talk to him. During their conversation, Scarlet mentioned her air conditioner was acting up. William then said, "Since you're Arya's friend, I'll check it out for free." Trusting his words, Scarlet took William to her home. Scarlet was deceived by William and subjected to something terrible. Arya recounted such a story. I was speechless. I felt a surge of anger towards William's reprehensible actions. While we were discussing this, William unusually came home. Arya ran towards William. "Wait, Arya!" I hurried after her, but Arya was already confronting William. "What did you do to Scarlet?"
Huh? What are you talking about?
"She's pregnant, and she said you might be the father." William was taken aback by Arya's words, but then he sighed as if resigning himself to the situation.
So it came out, huh?
What's with that attitude?" Arya's voice rose in anger. Furious, I too confronted William. "Is this true? Answer me. What were you thinking?" With a sarcastic smile, William responded.
Young girls are the best.
"Excuse me?"
Enough already. I'm dating Scarlet. Aurora, you're yesterday's news.
William burst into laughter. I couldn't hide my bewilderment at his reaction. "Cut it out, like Scarlet would ever date someone like you."
What? Scarlet's pregnant with my child, right? How am I supposed to not take responsibility?
"Stop joking around." Arya stamped her foot in frustration. To that, William coolly retorted.
No use getting mad at me. It was Scarlet who came on to me.
"Scarlet would never do something like that."
Not do it? I'm telling you she did, so it's true. And I'm not in the wrong.
William slammed his bag down on the table as if to make a point. It seems nothing got through to William. If that's the case, he has another thing coming. "What have you done? I'll give you plenty of time to think it over. Of course, you don't have the right to refuse. You're gonna face the consequences of your actions. I don't know what to do. You don't need to say anything. We'll make sure you get to where you need to be." I gently placed my hand on Arya's shoulder. "Arya, I'm sorry. I should have left William sooner." I glared at William with a stern look, but William coolly retorted.
What, you think you're in a position to leave me?
"Of course, you don't even work properly."
What did you say?
William scowled. I said, looking away, "I'm getting a divorce. I won't be giving you any money from now on." William used to come home occasionally just to take money from me and leave, but it was my indulgence that led to him hurting Scarlet. It's all my fault. I was too lenient, thinking he hardly came home. So the first step is to cut off William's source of funding. Divorce seems to be the best option.
What are you talking about? You think I live off the money you give me?
Then it's settled. We'll get a divorce. I appreciate your agreement. I reached into my pocket. I pulled out the pre-filled divorce papers. Here, sign it now.
Are you serious?
William suddenly became hesitant. He probably underestimated the situation, thinking it was all talk. I handed the divorce papers to William, who started sweating almost forcibly. "Sign it."
All right.
William raised his voice, clearly showing this was inconvenient for him. But it would be problematic if that weren't the case. This was just the beginning. William quickly finished signing. I swiftly took back the papers and checked for any omissions. Then I told William, "Well, we'll be leaving now."
Yeah, do whatever you want. I won't miss you guys.
William bluffed his indifference. I never thought I'd be so frustrated that I can't legally erase a parent-child relationship.
What did you say?
From now on, you're a stranger to me. That's how I'll live my life.
Arya turned her back on William. She ran into her room, where sounds indicated she was packing her things. I too sighed and told William,
I'll take only what I need and leave. I'll arrange for movers to get the bigger stuff later.
Yeah, do as you please.
William pretended to be nonchalant, so I decided to emphasize the point just to be sure. What you've done is a crime. You either pay the bail for the divorce trial or get arrested. Those are your options.
Shut up, like I care.
William retorted as if shouting, then picked up his bag from the table again.
I'm going out, so lock the door. With that loud declaration, William hurried out of the house. I sighed and went back to my room. After packing, Arya and I returned to my parents' home. Arriving there, both Dad and Christopher were surprised, but I didn't want to discuss the reasons in front of Arya. Arya, you go shower.
Huh? But Arya hesitated, but Dad, sensing something, said, Go ahead, Arya. Plus, I just cleaned the shower. Then I'll take you up on that offer. Their somewhat formal response seemed to puzzle Dad quite a bit. As soon as Arya left, Dad pressed me for answers.
What happened, Aurora? Was it something you couldn't even call us about?
Well, yes, actually. I started by telling him about William getting Scarlett pregnant, emphasizing that it wasn't consensual. I also mentioned William's bad behavior, the verbal abuse towards us. And finally, it's added that William agreed to the divorce petition and signed the divorce papers. Then Dad, who had been silently listening, let out a deep sigh, clenching his fists. He mutters his voice with great effort.
That bastard.
What a disgraceful act. Dad probably felt a sense of responsibility for introducing William to me in the first place. So that's the situation. Please be more considerate of Arya than me.
Understood. I'll help with whatever I can.
Thank you, Dad. After that, I decided to take a shower and rest. The next day, Arya came to me after waking up. I have a favor to ask, she whispered to me, outlining a plan for revenge against William. So will you help me? Of course I will. According to Arya, Scarlett was also involved in the plan. I'll make him pay with my own hands, Scarlett had apparently said with determination. I felt compelled to do everything possible for Scarlett, partly out of a sense of guilt. The first step was to investigate William's behavior. Arya and her acquaintance David took charge of this. David worked at a detective agency, making him perfectly suited for the task. Meanwhile, I hurried to Dad's side. Then I sought Dad's advice on the matter. Can you make sure not to give William any more work? I want to put financial pressure on him. I explained that it was part of Arya and Scarlett's plan. Dad agreed without hesitation. Leave it to me. Losing work from us will definitely hurt him financially. Of course, it wouldn't cut off all his work, but it was sure to have a significant impact. His reputation among customers seemed to be declining, so financial hardship for William was inevitable. Now it's up to Scarlett to do what she needs to do. What Scarlett was tasked with was something only she could handle. It was worrying, but Scarlett was strong. Scarlett could do it. I truly believed in her capability. After some time, the results of William's behavior investigation came in, and they were shockingly damning. I was astounded by the utterly bleak outcome. There are multiple affairs and even debts involved. He's truly beyond redemption. Exactly, but the worse he is, the better for us. Arya quickly tucked the report into her bag. What will you do with that? This? I'm going to distribute it to everyone. Distribute? I was puzzled. But Arya explained in detail. The investigation revealed William's affairs. Most of his partners probably believed they were the only one. Arya planned to reveal the truth to them, and also inform them about his debts. I'll even tell the people at the places he frequents. Why? If they know he's in debt, they'll try to collect what he owes, right? As a result, the wallet ends up empty. In his desperation, he would have no choice but to apologize to us. That was Arya's plot. However, we had no intention of lending him money. It was merely a means to lure William out. The final blow will come when William turns to us for help. Arya said, a sly smile on her face. Indeed, once the plan was set in motion, the stores began to collect their dues. William must have been clueless about what was happening. Just by visiting these places, he was suddenly confronted with demands to settle his accounts. The collection efforts were quite aggressive. It only took a few days after Arya set things in motion for William to reach out. Aurora, can we talk? William's voice hesitated over the phone. I almost burst into laughter, knowing full well why he was calling. What's up? Suppressing my laughter, I waited to hear what William would say. Without any shame, he blurted out,
"Can you lend me some money? I've had some heavy expenses recently."
Expenses? More like debt repayment, right? I almost blurted out that response, but held back. Instead, I prodded further.
"I thought you said you wouldn't have any trouble without us."
"Well, that's,
William stumbled for a moment, but quickly raised his voice again.
"Come on, a little help won't hurt. Haven't I been providing for you all this time?"
"Excuse me? You were the one living off me."
"That's not."
Before William could finish, I raised my voice even louder.
"You never contributed to the household, and yet you have the nerve to ask for money? Who do you think you are?"
"Well, that's...
Pay off your own debts and expect a bill for the divorce trial security deposit."
After my declaration, William fell silent. After a moment of contemplation, he finally shouted back,
"Shut up. I won't rely on you anymore."
And that was the end of the call. I wonder how long his defiance will last. I smirked to myself. For the next few days, there was no further contact from William, but about a week later, William contacted me again.
"Help me, Aurora." "What is it? You finally ran out of money?"
As soon as I asked, William started to panic.
"No, it's the women. I'm being chased by women. What did you do?" It seems the word about his numerous affairs had gotten out.
While thinking this,
I responded,
"You're responsible for your own actions.
You deserve to be cornered, both financially and socially."
"Don't be so cold. Come on, give me shelter. It's okay, right?"
How can one think so conveniently to this extent?
I was filled with wonder.
Setting that aside, it was clear he was indeed being cornered.
It was probably time for the final phase of the plan.
With that in mind, I told William,
"Fine, I'll lend you some money. Come and pick it up at our place."
"Money? How's that going to solve anything?"
"That's all I can offer. Aria's at Scarlett's place right now, so this is your last chance." When I said that, William fell silent. He was probably contemplating something. Hopefully, he won't notice.
I hoped he wouldn't catch on the plan as my heart raced with anticipation.
"All right, I'll be there around 7 p.m. After saying just that, he abruptly hung up.
It worked. He took the bait.
He fell right into the plan beautifully. I was convinced of that. Telling William I would lend him money when he was desperate
was precisely what Aria and Scarlett had strategized.
This would surely bring him to the house. In fact, the plan was to hand him over to the police once he showed up, and Scarlett had already been to the police to set things in motion. Scarlett had filed a complaint, so William was supposed to be arrested.
I quickly contacted Aria. "Understood, I'll be there soon." After contacting Aria, I also called the police. After explaining the situation, several officers agreed to come.
Along with Aria and Scarlett, we waited for William to arrive with the police officers.
The time came,
but William was nowhere to be seen. "Hey, do you think he figured it out?"
But he should be desperate for the money. Despite my words, I was filled with anxiety. Perhaps William had discovered our plan. What should I do?
My heart felt like it was about to burst. Then my cell phone began to ring. Thinking it was William, I answered quickly. But it wasn't him on the line.
"Huh? Police?" Surprised, I glanced at the officers present. The call was from another police officer, not the ones at my place.
They reported that a suspicious person had been caught in an apartment complex. That person was none other than William. Why would he do that?
I couldn't help but blurt out those words.
But as I listened to the officer on the phone, it all made sense. William had been caught in an apartment complex well known to Aria and Scarlett. To be precise,
it was the apartment Scarlett had lived in until recently.
William, thinking Scarlett was there, had broken into her old apartment. However, Scarlett was no longer living there. Scarlett wasn't there, of course, because she had already moved out of that apartment.
To her, it was a place filled with unpleasant memories related to William.
There's no way she would continue living in such a place indefinitely.
Naturally, she moved out before her pregnancy was discovered. Now Scarlett was living somewhere else with Aria.
Something William was unaware of. Accompanied by the police officers from my house, I rushed to the apartment complex that had become the scene of the incident. Upon arrival, I saw William being placed into a police car.
A uniformed officer approached me. "Are you his wife?"
"No, I'm his ex-wife," I responded with a look of disdain. And that's when William noticed me.
"Aurora, you came." "Reluctantly, yes."
"Please tell them I just mistook it for her apartment."
"Her? Who?" Took me a moment to realize he meant Scarlett.
"What are you talking about? You two aren't in that kind of relationship."
"What? Are you trying to set me up? Cut it out."
That was my line. My anger reached its boiling point,
and I retorted.
"Scarlett filed a complaint against you.
No matter your excuses, you're destined to be arrested."
"What, really?" William looked utterly bewildered. Meanwhile, the officers who had come with me had finished their discussions. One of them quietly stepped into the patrol car, pulling out an arrest warrant from his pocket and clearly showing it to William. What followed was almost a given. William was arrested on the spot, facing charges for breaking and entering, among others, including the issue with Scarlett. Further investigation unveiled his deception with other women, revealing a pattern akin to marriage fraud, even involving married women. Ultimately, William faced multiple charges and received a prison sentence without the possibility of parole, compounded by civil lawsuits from various parties. This truly was a financial and social reckoning for him. Now William is in prison. I want him to fully comprehend the magnitude of his wrongdoing, and I hope he reflects on it thoroughly. I sincerely wish for his reform. Shifting back a bit, after William's arrest, Scarlett safely gave birth to a baby boy. Though she had the option not to keep the baby, she told us, "This child is precious to me." I admired her for her strength, but there was a significant reason behind Scarlett's decision. Scarlett had undergone DNA testing for the child during her pregnancy. The results confirmed that the child's father was Scarlett's boyfriend. Apparently, her boyfriend also expressed his desire to support Scarlett, and they decided to have the child together. Now, Scarlett and her boyfriend are dedicated to raising their child together. I wondered what Arya thought about all this, and when I asked, she said, "I plan to marry David too." It turns out David is her boyfriend. This brought me relief. I had feared this ordeal might turn Arya cynical about marriage, so her response was the most heartening news.